Hello and welcome to my analysis, sort of deep dive on the deck of the winner from this last Pioneer, basically Pioneer and a bit of draft tournament. Um, Pretty exciting, I think, because this format is really diverse. As you can see in the other way around, in the top 8 bracket, um, you can see that there are only two doubles in there, and there are otherwise all different decks. Rakdos mid-range, there are even some decks in here that have come pretty far that only have 0.9% play rate in this tournament. So that means that it is a pretty rare deck. The winner's deck has been used a bit more, and we'll get into that. So there is the spoiler of who wins here. So if you don't want that, click off. No problem. You can check out the whole tournament via the MTG Wizards Twitch. So that is another possibility if you want to watch it all, or maybe only the top 8. There's a separate video for that as well. But today we'll be only watching those from the winners, so I will have to announce it now. Um, if you didn't know yet, Reed Duke was the winner of this Pioneer tournament, and his deck is all about these two creatures. He wants to get them out with Indomitable Creativity. This is a card that has seen a lot of play in tournaments because it is really good if you know how to only get two creatures or artifacts out of your deck. What it does is you pay, in this case, 5 mana, so 3 red and 2 for the X, to destroy 2 artifacts or creatures, could happen, and then reveal cards from the top of your library until an artifact or creature is revealed. In this case, we only have the 2 creatures, so you will always reveal the World Spine Worm and Xenagos. Xenagos then gives haste and doubles the power of the World Spine, which means you get a 30/30 trample haste worm onto the battlefield that even when it dies leaves 35/5s, which will be pretty dangerous as well. So how will this be shut down? Well, if your opponent can kill that creature, then this is the only thing that you have. But you will put Wolf Spine Worm into a graveyard, well, when it is put into the graveyard, you shuffle it into your library. So that is a plus side of this card as well. So it is big, it has trample, and you might wonder why do they use this? Because you get it back into your library. So that is how the deck works. And for this first deck, you can see who we're up against on the left, which will be Nathan Stoyer. His deck is a Lotus Field combo deck. So Lotus Field is this land that enters, you sacrifice 2 lands, and then you add 3 mana of any one color. And then there are effects that, for example, for 2 mana and you cycle Vizier of Tumbling Sands, you can untap it and then you have 1 more mana, basically. And by cycling this, you get a lot of mana and probably enough to play cards like Omniscience or Emergent Ultimatum, so that you can win eventually with Mastermind's Acquisition, probably getting a lot of stuff from your graveyard and having a lot of mana. So that is the plan for that deck, but we will mostly be focusing on Redukes. So yeah, let's go. Game 1 it is. Skip a... Ooh. Let's not skip a bit. You saw parts of this. A little bit of a spoiler, but he plays the Fable of the Mirror Breaker first. I think this is a very logical first play. Why? Because the Fable of the Mirror Breaker is something that isn't necessary for his game plan, but does give you the red shaman token, which is a creature, and helps you to create a token when it attacks, which is another artifact which you can also sacrifice. So that is already the creature and an artifact that you will need. You see these two players going pretty fast. Nathan is cycling through his deck right now for a library, not really cycling, but with Sylvan Scrying. And here's the Mirror Breaker for Reed. You can see he plays his creature, so that is already one of the things that he needs. You can see as well that he has Mulligan to have his, or well, is it Mulligan? I'm not sure, but he has his Indomitable Creativity in his hand, which you do like in this deck. This is not one of the decks that you really need to be slow with. Because Indomitable Creativity is only 3 mana. And well, it will cost you 5 to pull off the sort of 1-card combo in this deck, which is really fast. So as you might see, Nathan needs 2 cards in order to kind of win. So he needs his Lotus Field and then, for example, at least something that can untap it. So that will take him a bit of time. Nathan, I think, still looking... Oh no, he's looking at what he wants to play right now. Yeah, looking actually through Nathan's deck, there isn't a lot of untap stuff. Maybe Hidden Strings, tap or untap target permanent, then you may tap or untap another target permanent, and then you may exile this on a creature. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, you may cast a copy of that encoded spell. So that is another untap. And I think that was it. Yeah, see, oh, maybe Voyaging Seder, but that's only a one-off. So that's not too much. So we see Arboreal Grazer, one of the fan favorites from some of my followers, actually. Basically because of how cute it is, I think, mostly. Yeah, we fight to stop a tyrant. Oh, this is from Vivian Reed. Yeah, so this is one of the War of the Spark cards in Ravnica, actually. Very good, of course, because right now he already very notably has the Lotus Field onto the battlefield. I think that is way more important than the... Well, it is as important as the Grazer itself. So yeah, that is already one part of the combo, and it also means that he has a lot of mana on the battlefield, because he also has Thespian Stage, which can become a copy of that land. Except it has the ability to keep copying. So we go to the second chapter of the saga. I want to say fable, it's a saga. Which means Reed gets to discard 2 and draw 2. He gets another Domitable Creativity, which he doesn't really want. Per se, you don't really have that much to do with the first one, but he does have Impulse and Fire Prophecy to look through his deck. Right now he has 2 Impulses in his hand, of course. But he doesn't need to look in any way. Right now he has 4 mana on the battlefield and a treasure, so that is already 5. But he is missing 1 extra artifact or creature to pull off his combo. And this is a bit of a dangerous spot for him. Nathan is at that point where he has his lands and he might combo off really soon. You can see, for example, that Nathan has the Hidden Strings here. So yeah, Rejuke really has something to think about. One other thing he could do is use it on something from Nathan, but Nathan doesn't really want to have important permanents on the battlefield, creatures or artifacts at least, on the battlefield at this point in the game, and he doesn't need to start comboing off. He has the Hidden Strings, so he can already untap one of these lands, so he has a lot of mana. Rejuke plays Big Score. This is another really important card in this deck, but not really what he loves to do right now. Big Score makes 2 treasures, which is very notable, of course. Reed's turn again. Nathan holding up a lot of mana to maybe interact, but I don't see a lot of interaction in his hands. But Reed now could go ahead and play the 1 card combo. So this is a really big turning point here. He can use one of the treasures or land, which he also has, in order to play the indomitable creativity and get his combo off by sacrificing, for example, two treasures. And it seems like he's going for that. He doesn't really have many options other than that, actually. He could use Impulse first. And we see, what's the interaction? I think he has the Impulse. Is that? Oh, no, he untaps it and cycles with the Vizier. So that is a little bit of a desperation play. He has a blue floating right now. And he taps it again. What did he draw? Oh, Boseiju to kill the enchantment. Alright. It's an enchantment creature, of course. So that is a bit of a blowout here. Because seems like Reduke has targeted the Saga, which might have been a bit of a mistake here. But of course, Nathan could have targeted the treasure just as well with the Boseiju. You can see why this is a very good land. Yeah, so Reed does resolve, and Reed does get a new land for that. I guess there's no point in going to Impulse right now. Can we even Impulse? Yeah, it's an instant. So yeah, we could have Impulse, which is interesting, but he didn't. I don't think there's... Well, he could have gotten a Spell Pierce, which is in his deck, I guess, but that is really niche, and of course Nathan does have the mana open to deal with that as well, so that is really dangerous on its own. Reed does know that Nathan is missing some cards for that, but he does have another Indomitable Creativity, so he could storm off later as well. But this does mean that he only gets to get one of his two combo pieces, and it is a little bit dangerous. So let's see what he pulls. This is a part. Might be exciting, I guess, but yeah, the worm it is. So you get to see the World Spine worm onto the battlefield. It's just a 15/15 with trample right now. So no haste yet and no doubling of that power. So no lethal presented yet. There is 17 power on board and 15 of it is trample. But this does mean that Nathan, with his combo deck, gets to untap, and he does still have a Hidden Strings as well as an Impulse. So there will be a lot of chances for Nathan to do something. You can see that he used his Vespian stage to copy the Lotus Field, which gives him a lot of more mana next turn. Because this turn, of course, he had to use a lot of mana to get that second ability to copy a target land. So that is does mean a lot of extra mana for Nathan this turn, which is interesting. I like these tokens, by the way, that he uses. He does display that he is not going to use Boros or black mana in this case. But I like this. This is very good for tournaments, and it makes it very clear. I actually love that, and maybe more people should do it like this, but this does seem like a very dangerous situation for Reduke. So 6 mana, extra mana is tapped, going up to 7, apparently using 3. I'm guessing. Not really seeing what that is. He's asking if something resolved, but we can't really see what we're playing right here. Pour over the pages. Draw 3, untap up to 2 lands, then discard a card. So looking for answers, but you can see how easily he is able to pay that 5 mana with 5 mana floating as well. Doesn't really find too much, it seems. 2 lands and an Arboreal Grazer. Can still very easily untap his cards though with the Hidden Strings, but doesn't seem like he has a lot of answers yet. Plays a land out and uses 3 of his mana leaving no green open. But that doesn't matter yet because he has a lot of mana untapped in his lands. He's playing the what's it called? MDFC, which was, let's see, Balagat Recovery, which returns a card from his graveyard to his hand, getting back a pour over the pages. So wanting to look a bit more into his deck, but that is a good sign for Reed. I'm guessing that he still needs to look, Nathan. But this is how the combo deck works, though. So this is still dangerous. Getting 6 more mana, playing his cards out of view for us. But I'm thinking this was just, it looks, we need to look at the art. Maybe it was another pour of the pages. It does seem that way. So again, drawing 3 and discarding a card. Seems like he discarded a land. Drawing more lands, drawing some more card draw, more pour over the pages. He now has 5 mana still. Blue mana, which he can use for the Vizier of the Tumbling Sands that he drew, so he still has a lot of mana. You can see how long this combo can take, and this is really not what this should be about for us with looking at Reed's deck. But I think it's interesting that Reed Duke does have a lot of interaction and didn't really draw it here. So, but Nathan did draw a Dark Petition, which is kind of the nail in the coffin. Search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. He can, of course, make a bunch of he has a bunch of instants and sorceries in his graveyard. I think definitely more than 2. So he will get 3 extra black mana as well for that. Feel like he should do it at this point. He probably knows that Reduke doesn't have any interaction. Or he has an impulse, so he could look for something. But I think with that, he only has 2 mana, so is after the, so he could get a make disappear, but then he would have to sacrifice his shaman. Yeah, no. Oh wait, so that just doubles it. No, so that makes Nathan pay 4, which is not a bad thing for him at all. So I guess Rejuke needs to wait a bit because all of his counters in his deck. So let's look at the counters that he has. These are Make Disappear, which could make Nathan pay 2. Or Spell Pierce, which for Make Disappear and then 2 for the spell piece. Pierce. Again, Nathan keeps on tapping, which is definitely what he wants to do. Base 5, I think, for Dark Petition. Yeah. It is. So what does he look for now? Emergent Ultimatum. He thinks he has enough mana, so he goes for the Emergent. So this does, of course, this is definitely a finisher. You can look for up to 3 monocolored cards with different names and exile them. And then your opponent gets to choose 2 that you get to play. So basically, if you really make an ultimatum that doesn't ever not win you the game, this is definitely something that will win you the game, actually. Taps more mana. I think he needs the green for the ultimatum. Basically what he's doing here. Other than that, he does have enough. Don't know why he's counting it. He has more than enough mana to use here. So yeah, I guess we know what he is choosing. He does have Omniscience is one of the things he will definitely choose. Then we have Build the Beyond, which they showed, which is discard your hand, search for 3 cards and put those cards into your hand and shuffle your library, which will definitely give you the Omniscience anyways. And then the Mastermind's Acquisition is here as well, as they are saying, to get to the approach of the second sun, which will win you the game because you can cycle through your deck so easily. It's logical, I think. It's good that Nathan plays this slowly while he isn't really slow. He needs to think about this really well because he sees that Reduke has 4 mana open, so that could mean a lot of interaction from his deck. So Nathan has a lot to think about. And we do see another option, which is Lear, Disciple of the Drowned, which we haven't seen from the commentators yet, I think, which is spells can't be countered. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback, and this means that Nathan can use all those sorceries and instants from his graveyard to keep cycling more, and I think that is another way for him to get the cards that he needs. Omniscience does seem a little bit double, of course, because Nathan already has the sort of infinite mana. But seems like he picked the Leer because he had maybe one of the cards in his hand already. But wouldn't be really logical to have the Mastermind's Acquisition in his hand, so I don't think that was the case. You can see here what the power level is, by the way. It's basically get to turn 5 or 6 and you will win the game. So it is nearing modern levels here. Nathan looking through his deck again. Yeah, I think one thing that makes the format a bit simpler is that everyone is basically getting these decks that look a lot like each other. So the basic thing is Emergent Ultimatum, make a combo that you can win with very stably. And then just play Emergent Ultimatum. So basically every Ultimatum deck is basically the same, except for how you get to that ultimatum. And I guess the same is true for the Indomitable Creativity decks. It's just waiting for a card that can finish on its own, but I don't think that will be the case. But 2 creature combos aren't that foreign. And it's really interesting as well that he doesn't even play any green mana at all. He doesn't need this because he doesn't plan to play the Worldspine Worm or Xenagos from his hand in any case. We see the second son eventually got it from his sideboard, which is a power of Mastermind's Acquisition. Reduke, I think, impulsing. Yeah. See what he got. Doesn't scoop yet, so not sure what this is. Maybe just seeing if Nathan makes a mistake. But let's see, he's writing it down, I think. So Nathan a little bit tense right now. I think that is logical here, as Reduke didn't immediately surrender. This is, of course, also a strategy to employ in a tournament when you are up against your opponent, but no. This is definitely a win for Nathan. So yeah, let's skip ahead a bit as a sideboard, which is, of course, interesting as well, but I don't think one... Is there like a overview? I don't think so. Okay. We're almost starting here. Yeah. So next game. This is a format where you need to win 3 times. Again, by the way, very important reduke, starting with 2 indomitable creativities again. So that's basically what he wants. 3 lands in, nothing has happened yet. This is very normal for these decks. Reduke now has an answer in his hand, which is very important. One of the make disappears, which is an answer to one of the hidden strings, for example, or Vizier of the Tumbling Sands is a cycle card, so that is very stable, of course. From Nathan, though, no Lotus Field yet, just a Vespian Stage, which is sort of a Lotus Field, but not yet without the first one. So that is an interesting point. Drawing more pore over the pages, but oh, we see the Lotus Field indeed. Sacrificing his 2 lands because, yeah, who needs them? But Reduke is at 3 mana and doesn't have a creature on the battlefield yet, and he does need a creature, or 2 creatures or 2 artifacts or some combination of the 2, so that he has 2 things to sacrifice to his creativities. And see, seems like the combo is coming out for Nathan here. He has the Pour Over the Pages again. He has Vizier of Tumbling Sands, and he has Hidden Strings, so this is one of the dangerous points where he might be comboing off again. The interesting thing about this sort of, I feel like Izzet Creativity is a sort of combo deck as well, is that there is so much tension before the combo thing happens, and everything before that is about card draw, like we see with the big score, or the countering, like make disappear. Fire Prophecy doesn't seem to have a lot of use here, but Fire Prophecy, of course, also has the use of dealing 3 damage. So yeah, that is, of course, also important. I said, by the way, just now that they sideboarded, but they haven't yet. That's the thing in this format. But please scream at me in the comment section for that. And again, same play pattern here. Boseiju on a treasure, like we said before, to block the creativity. And Reduke didn't have anything open to block this. While he does present a lot of threat, it is really not enough yet. But he uses Nathan does, uses the Vespian Stage. Not yet. Or does he? Yes, he uses it to make it another Lotus Field, giving him 6 mana next turn. And the Indomitable Creativity goes off, having Reed look for 1 creature again. So basically hoping it's a World Spine so that he has a chance. Well, it doesn't really matter, actually. It could be a Xenagos as well. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't give him the 1-turn lethal in any case. But this is a very sad moment. We see the World Spine Worm again. No Xenagos seen yet, except for next to me, I guess. We do have him here, so yeah, that at least you get to see him. So I guess what I want to say. Is it the same one? Yeah, good. But okay, what we see is another untapping, which is really dangerous point here. What is he tapping for 9? No, I think that's 6 for us, that he put the dice the other way around. And here starts the untapping again. So basically untapping his 2 lands with this 1 card, making him 4 extra mana, which will help him get to the Pour Over the Pages. The first one. This was the first one, right? Yeah. Drawing 3. Of course, a dangerous point here, because in 3 cards he might not get anything that untaps. Which seems to be the case, actually. But he does have enough for Impulse and then something to untap. with. So with that, he can also look at the top 4, and he just needs one of his untapped mechanics. Tapping again. Paying 3 green? What? For what? Two? Huh? I don't understand how that tapping worked right there, to be honest. But looking on with another one of the pages. Discarding Arboreal Grazer, doesn't need that right here. Doesn't want another Temple of Mystery out on the battlefield, I guess. Could scry one. But no, I think the impulses are way more important, but I think this is already a done game as well. Having 9 mana open and then another Lotus Field, and then he has 2 impulses, but he also has the Vizier of the Tumbling Sands to untap already. Rejuke only has 1 mana, so this time doesn't even have the space for a counter spell. So, or well, he could have the Spell Pierce open. But that's basically it. So no worries for Nathan. Can do this a bit faster now. At least we do get to see his deck as well. Went for the Mastermind's acquisition to get an Emergent Ultimatum, I guess. Seems like that. So he searches library for a card, which is interesting. Can immediately play it, I think. Here goes 6 mana, which is the name of this game, I guess. Making even mana, which is logical for Emergent Ultimatum, of course. Need 3 green and 2 of the other colors. Leaving open the mirror. Proposing the ultimatum, and it goes through, of course. Spell Pierce wouldn't have worked here either with the 2 mana that's open. Nathan looking through. This is a deck that wants to cycle a lot, and the same counts for the Izzet Creativity deck. And I guess that is a lot of thinking when you have your whole deck to go through. But of course, there are just a few options that you want. We see Leer. We see the Behold the Beyond. And I think that is an Omniscience. Yeah, it is. So Omniscience going back into the deck. Reed basically saying, I don't think you have the untap ability right now. But, basically he does have that because he has Leer, of course. And the flashback allows him to use those cards in his library. But he also gets to look for any card, so I guess that's enough for Rejuke for game 2. So, next game. Opening up, no creativity for Rejuke yet, but here's his sideboard coming into play. Or maybe not, by the way, because there is one Shark Typhoon in his deck. Yeah, Shark Typhoon, one of the alternate win conditions of Rejuke's deck, which basically means that he gets to put into play a lot of flying sharks. The one of Voyaging Satyr, not sure how to say that, but can untap and target land by just tapping, and will be actually prophesied, which is to me interesting. because it doesn't have that many options in this deck. Gets the Fable, which is very important as well for Reed's game plan. We don't see the Lotus Field yet again, but here comes one Impulse. Looks like an Impulse. Different art. But the art looks like an Impulse, which is a very interesting. Little bit of a sneak preview you got there from me from another little tab. What did he find? Always a very exciting moment. Fading Hope to get rid of the token. Of course, the token doesn't go back into your hand, so that is removed. Plus, it has mana value 3 or less, so Nathan gets to scry 1. Has to think about it, so no Lotus Field probably. Or maybe he's faking it, which I guess is important too in tournament play. If you snap grab it, that does say a lot about your choice, because then apparently it isn't such a hard choice. So that telegraphs more than waiting a bit, but apparently not the Lotus Field indeed, because he's putting it to the bottom. And you wouldn't do that with your combo piece, I guess. Definitely not when you have the Vizier of the Tumbling Sands in your deck. Duke almost going to his upkeep to get his Fable to Chapter 2. But I guess he's thinking about his hand already. When you think about it here, though, yeah, what do you want to get rid of, really? Because you have the Narset's Reversal, which is definitely from the sideboard. Copy target instant or sorcery spell and return it to its owner's hand. You may cast it. So that is stopping. That is interaction which you need. Discarded a Hull Breach. What's it called again? Hull Breaker. Another one of the alternates that is not in his main deck, because of course it changes the whole aspect of your game. Because it is another creature, but this could be such a good play against the combo deck, because it can be countered, that's for one, and Nathan has a removal is a lot of counter spells. Plus, you get to counter a lot of the combo decks spells as well, so it is basically winning on its own in this format, but just basically. Not really sure what this is, to be honest. It seems like a Grazer, but why would you put that there? Is it the Satire again? Nathan looks really confident, by the way. Or maybe he wants to look that way. He tapped 2 mana for it. So it could be the Voyage. None can own the land's bounty. The gods made this world for all to share its riches. And I'm not just saying that because you got me stealing your fruit. Probably is. But make disappears it. Does seem like it, but I'm not sure. What else is 2 mana from there? Sylvan's Drying? Oh, that was what it was. Sorry. Search your library for a land, and he made it disappear. Which is interesting. But also logical, because it would have gotten the Lotus Field. And it does tell Reduke that the Lotus Field is not here. He probably knows this already, because Nathan hasn't put it onto the battlefield yet. But Nathan still at 5 mana, so that is a dangerous place. Does only have blue and green mana, so no ultimatum yet. No Dark Petition to play yet either. But could start poring over the pages. Which could get him the land, which enters tapped, by the way. That's an important point here. It enters tapped. to balance it out a bit. Draws a Boseiju who endures, which has been very important in this matchup. But gets his Pour Over the Pages reversaled, which is a very big blowout because now Ryujuk gets to draw 3 and gets to find his combo piece. Doesn't have the creatures or the artifacts onto the battlefield yet. Does have, I guess, I haven't seen it used like this yet, but has the Hall of the Storm Giants, which is, I guess, a creature as well. Which he could sacrifice, but that's 6 mana. Doesn't have that yet. Has it now, though, I think? No, not yet. Another Fable. Might have to play a Fable, which is dangerous, of course, against a combo deck that has enough mana to combo off. But Nathan also, which of course Ryujuk doesn't really know, but can think about. Nathan doesn't have the untapping yet either. So another Pour Over the Pages and tapping out fully, which means this can be spell pierced. So Reed must be happy with this. Base 4 mana though. For a big score, maybe? Yeah, so wants to see if he has a better answer to use here. Maybe something even more efficient than the Spell Pierce. Or maybe he wants to let this go. Might be an interesting point as well, that he wants to keep the Spell Pierce around. No, doesn't. That would be too big brain for me as well. But you never know with these kinds of games. I mean, it would signal that you don't have a Spell Pierce, which might make your opponent overconfident, but the Lotus Field combo deck is just too efficient, I think, to not keep the 2 mana open, because Nathan also knows that there are a lot of Spell Pierces here. Doesn't go for the creativity right away. Likes to... Oh, doesn't have it anymore. Where did it go? Did it get countered and did I miss this? Because that would have been a very important point in the game, actually. I was probably looking at something else, which is a Vice. But can happen. What did he counter it with then? Not sure, actually. But this changed the game a lot. One downside of a 1 card combo where there's only one version of it is that you will only have 4 Indomitable Creativities. So of course that is a big downside here. We could see another Pour Over the Pages into another Narset's reversal here, though. So that would again be a big blowout, but I don't think that Nathan has a lot of choice. Oh, he has the Lotus Field. That is very scary right now. Does he have the untapping ability? Yes, he does have the untapping ability. The 2 mana one that helps him untap both. So yeah, I think Ryujuk should counter this. But with what? Because Disdainful Stroke, notably, doesn't really work here. The 2 mana spell does not have a mana cost of 4 or greater. So he could do that, but Nathan would get the card back into his hand. Uses a negate, which I hadn't seen yet, but luckily I recognize the art and I definitely can't read it from here. It's a bit too far for me. By the way, what I think is interesting as well is that these decks are very expensive, most of them, except for the last one that we'll see today. But these are 600 from Ryujuk, and then 400 for Nathan Stoyer. Where I guess the problem is with the combo itself. Indomitable Creativity is $44. where Xenagos is almost 40 and World Spine is just over 20. Then Fury Impulse is weirdly $18 and just 40 euro cents for us though, which I find interesting. Is there anything else that is very expensive then? The lands, of course. Yeah, that's where the rest I think comes from, and then of course these two. Fable of the Mirror Breaker, 25. But that's just right now, of course. We see the hull. I haven't been looking. Well. Oh yes, played the Hull Breaker out of his hand because this game has taken so long. Of course, Nathan has been missing his land drops for a bit, but does have just as much mana. But the Hull Breaker is definitely very scary with the flash, and it can't be counted either. Now we get to see the other side of the hull, the Mirror Breaker, which I'm not sure whether I can. I don't think I have the technology to flip it around, but that was the game. Here we can see that the Hull Breaker is a 1 mana, a 1 card combo here as well. But you need to get to the 7 mana instead of the 4, I guess, in this matchup. So I guess that was something to look out for as well. So interesting. I think that in this matchup, the Hull Breaker itself could win you the game as well. But of course, Rejuke doesn't really have any ramp or something in here. I guess except for the treasure. So that is a lot of ramp as well. So might even almost be easier than going for the Indomitable Creativity to get the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, maybe attack twice in this matchup. And then play like a big score later to get 2 extra treasure. And then you already have the 3 extra mana that makes the Hull Breaker just as expensive as the Indomitable Creativity. Let's skip forward a little bit. We haven't seen Rejuke's hand yet. He has mulliganed 1. Thinking about this one, it seems. No, he isn't, because Nathan has already started playing here. No Lotus Field, no creativity in the player's hands. So big score is there for Rejuke though, so that is his card draw and the negate, which is very good counterspell in this matchup as well. Then we see Hidden Strings and Sylvan Scrying, so Sylvan Scrying has to be negated. And it seems like on Nathan's first turn, he has been able to ramp up a bit with the Arboreal Grazer. Rejuke only playing a tapped land, which is very dangerous because now Nathan does get to get the Lotus Field onto the battlefield, sacrificing his 2 other lands. So from here, I think Nathan did have the other untapping spell, but I don't think it is cycling itself. Let us see. He has the untapping spell Hidden Strings. But that is not yet enough to get him to the Sphinx of the Final Word. Does have Balaget Recovery. Here. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So could use that, I guess. But why? Maybe to get another land. That would be, I guess, something he could do. What did he draw? Uses the Balaget right away, which I guess is way more efficient than using 2 cards to do the same thing. Gets Make Disappeared. Nathan has 1 mana open, which he doesn't, I think, have a counterspell for. No, just the Arboreal Grazer is the only one. Drop, and then there's Fading Hope, which we have seen before. But Reed doesn't have any. Well, it does have nuts, but he doesn't have the nuts in his hand yet either. But there's still the negate, which is a little bit of a buffer here. Nathan doesn't have more combo-y potential yet. Playing a second Lotus Field can't be done here either, because he would have to sacrifice the other Lotus Field, so that wouldn't really help him too much. It would actually set him back 1 extra mana. Reed now at 4 mana, so very comfortable with passing here because he has the big score, of course. Here comes the random hand, bringing in 2 blue mana, which is floating. I wish I had him to help me in my games. I think that would be very useful to have someone pass me the floating mana. Nathan thinking about it. Okay. Hidden strings, untapping the 2 lands. Duke thinking about negating this? I mean, or make disappearing probably, actually. Would you though? Yeah, I guess he is all the way down on his. No, he has the 2 extra mana, of course. So the question here is, does Reed think Nathan has another untapping ability? Because then the make disappear would be very dangerous, because it could be paid for. But now the negate just stops the untapping here right away. Just playing another land and waiting it out. Now only a make disappear though. But Nathan doesn't have more untapping here and could just not do anything. So passing the turn, allowing a big score, and look at how fast Rejuke did that. He snapped it out, sort of wanting to get this game over with. I think he is even smiling a little bit. Drawing Sokenzan, which I guess could make him 2 tokens as well, which is very important with the Indomitable Creativity, but he is playing the more controlling version here with the Hull Breach. Sure. Hull Breaker. I always say Hull Breacher, but that's an whole different overpowered card. Just has the comfortable 5 mana as well. And here, I guess the question is, does he think Nathan has a counterspell? And he kind of does. Thinks he's safe with the make disappear. But Nathan plays another land now, which means that he could play another Lotus Field. Can play Delir as well, which allows him to replay cards from his graveyard. But now Rejuke is all the way open to play his creativity next turn. And very open to counter Delir with the make disappear, which is, I think, almost more devastating, but of course the creativity can win him the game in just a bit. Does need the target, I think, for the Fire Prophecy. So that is a downside to the Arboreal Grazer being on the field, not really doing anything in this matchup otherwise. Sacrificing the Sokenzan to get the 2 spirits indeed. I think because this helps him keep 1 treasure around, which might be important. Place the creativity on the 2 and now can get the worm. Oh, he has pulled the other one out, so we might see the actual combo here. We see the worm, and I think we'll see Xenagos as well then. Bum, bum, bum. Will it be? Maybe it has, yeah, it is. So the combo here, of course, making the World Spine double its powers, and that really finishes the game just here. I guess Nathan can look through the deck, but not really a use there. Oh, I know, because he can now think about what is in Richu's hand. But what is he going to do about this? I think nothing. No, okay. I was thinking about it. Maybe he just wanted. Oh, he could see what was pulled in there from the sideboard, of course. So that is, of course, valuable information. What these people think about is definitely over my head a lot of times. See the shuffling, which is, of course, good therapy, but skipping over it. I'm sorry for that. Do we already see the Lotus Field? No, but it is in Nathan's hand. It is only in his hand because of the what he just played. The Sylvan Scrying, which helped him put the Lotus Field into his hand. One downside is that you need the 2 mana for it. Just 2 passes though. And I think Nathan can very comfortably play the Lotus Field here. We do see that Rejuke has put in more Shark Typhoons from the sideboard as well. A Dragon Lord Dromoka, I don't think that is in his main deck either. Can't be countered, so that is one thing that really helps in this matchup, and your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, which will, of course, be very helpful in the combo deck. Also, it's a 5/7 with Flying and Lifelink, but that's not the point here. Well, it will eventually win you the game, I guess, but not as fast as the other cards do. Nathan is thinking about it, but not sure what he will do here. Yeah, pass. I would say, yeah. Okay, good. Impulse to look at the top 4. Let's see what he gets. What would you be hoping for here, actually? Is an interesting question. Unsure. I think counters. More than anything, he has the Aether Gust, which is, of course, a very good one to put in here to counter some of the green spells. Playing a mountain and passing. Does have a make disappear now, which is also very important. Disdainful Stroke. Not useful yet. Was the dragon uncounterable? Yeah, so no, not useful against Nathan's hand in the slightest. But playing a Thespian Stage, I guess for later. Mm. All right, untapping and doing his thing does seem very dangerous here. Okay, so playing the uncounterable dragon here. Can't be countered. Read tapping to Aether Gust, because that is not a counter. It's putting it on the top or bottom of the library, and that is a one-off. So that is such a blowout right here. Insane one-off that Nathan, I guess, didn't really think about, but puts the card on the top of the library. And if he could play that again next turn, which he, I guess, could with his lands, that would win for him as well. Or well, not really win, but stop the counters from Rejuke. But this gives Reed a lot of time, relatively. So that is interesting. Reed has 2 Sokensons, which he can't really use very well here, except for, of course, S-lands. And then Spike Field. Are there any 1 toughness creatures that he wants to use or to hit with this, or what is this about? I'm not entirely positive about what that is for exactly, but well, of course, it is still flexibility. 4 mana to play a shark and cycle. I think that's the most important part of this. Play at end of turn to see if he can get an answer. Does tell Nathan to be a little bit more confident here. But let's see what he got. More land and a big score, which can get him more cards again. And 2 of the treasure. So if it's just the Dragon Lord Dromoka next turn from Nathan, which could be true because he has 6 mana, so can't play the Sphinx yet. Taps his lands, might seem strange, but he wants to make the next Lotus Field, of course. Plays the dragon again, which is a good sign for Reduke, because now he gets 1 other turn. So before the Dragon Lord lands, he can still play big score and go for the next 2 cards. Discarding a Sokenzan, which I think is rather logical. And he found the Indomitable Creativity, and Nathan is down on his mana. Reduke can't really use, which is interesting, Reduke can't really use the Hull Breaker here because on your opponent's turn you can't really cast spells, so that wouldn't help too much. He really needs his own combo, his original combo, I guess you would say. So this is an interesting sideboarding question as well. Do you think the dragon will come out for Nathan Stoyer, which is a one-off? And if it comes out, then that is a blowout against your Hull Breaker. So now he plays the Indomitable Creativity. I would as well, because yeah, what else are you going to do? You can't really counter anything. And we look through. I think he just has the original combo in his deck right now. And the first one will be Xenagos. I guess I have to go through this. And the worm. So yeah, I do think that he has these 2. I guess if you are thinking about the Dragon Lord Dromoka, then yeah, you have to get these 2 as your only combo here. He is attacking with the doubled, and that's 30 damage to the face. Bringing in the 3rd win for this first top 8 game that we saw. The next matchup is Enigmatic Fires, which is all about the same named enchantments, 2 of them. So first is Enigmatic Incarnation. 4 mana at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another enchantment. If you do, search your library, so another search library thing, for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrifice enchantment's converted mana cost. For example, you can sacrifice 1 of your fires to get a Kenrith the Returned King, and as you don't use your mana, because of the other fires that you will probably have, you can use the other manas for all of the abilities, which is pretty exciting. And one interesting thing is Leyline Binding, which costs 1 less to cast for each basic land type you have. So very often you can play this for 1 mana, and that means that you can sacrifice the 6 mana enchantment to get a Titan of Industry or an ancient Agent of Treasury. In the sideboard, no more 7 mana enchantments, just a few just answers to the many decks, and they are very often very specific. For example, dealing 4 damage to a white or blue creature, or for small creatures, for example, or like certain counter spells against that are very good against blue spells, for example. Um, so that is the basic of this deck. So let's jump into it. This one is a bit faster paced, and we have Rejuke on the top there. First off, we see what's it called again? Bitter Reunion. Discarding a card, drawing 2 cards, something that the big score used to do for Rejuke. He doesn't have it in his hand right now. But he did Impulse, which is another thing he can do, of course. We have seen that before. Looking for his answers, doesn't have the creativity right now. Cards to look out for on Derek's side. Usually just the Enigmatic Incarnation, but also the Leyline Binding, because it is such a combo for him. And then also the screen is shaking. But other than that, the fact that he already has, I think, 4, maybe 5 types of lands already. We need to check these out. So we have Forest Island. Yeah, now definitely. So he has all 5. So the Leyline Binding only costs 1 mana if he so wants to do, but he uses, I think, one of the most played cards, which is Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Sorry. So one interesting thing that I want to note is that this deck was only played by 1.4% of players in this version. Wow, this is a very good deck. It is a bit slower than the other ones. Why? Because Enigmatic Incarnation says at the beginning of your end step, so it isn't a kill you right away card. Even though it's 4 mana instead of the 5 that you need for the original creativity combo, that does make it a lot slower, as your opponents can answer it in that whole turn. Reed Passing doesn't have the 5 mana yet, doesn't have the creature or the artifact for his combo. Has the 1-off, which is a 1-off in the main deck, a Shark Typhoon in his hand. Very interesting, I think, here, as he could cycle it to get it like a 2/2 flying onto the battlefield. But yeah, is that something? No, it doesn't really matter in this matchup too much, because next turn Derek could play a Enigmatic Incarnation if you don't keep your spell periods open, and that is too dangerous. I think that is exactly why you fire the token. 2 mana from Derek to play a Bitter Reunion. Yeah. So another Bitter Reunion coming onto the battlefield, and this is also interesting. So what could you get with that? For example, a Deputy of Detention. Not really, I think, something you want here. You could get a copy of a creature. Don't think that is what you want right now. Moonblast Cleric. Search for an enchantment. That could be a very good for seeking your answers. And then Skyclave Apparition, not really what you necessarily directly want either. They're pointing out the Leyline Binding, which is, of course, just a strong spell here. But do you really want to use it on a 1/1? I'm not sure. This is one of the strengths of the Sokensen land, of which Reed has 2. So 2 of these, which he can use to create 2/1/1s, which is 2 damage to turn. So if nobody does anything, or for example, like here, the lands are slowed, that is a very important thing that you can start the clock. Start the ticking of the clock. Let's call it that. What was this? This maybe? Yeah, I think so. So, making it all the types. Is that what he did? It's also 2 mana again. So that is not really what you want. You want more choices. So right now, Derek has only 2 mana enchantments. you want to also be able to, for example, choose a 4 mana enchantment to sacrifice for Genrith or Tolsimir to have more options to search up. So this does make the deck, I think, a bit weaker than the one that can immediately search up 3 with the ultimatum, of course, when you get to that. But it is way faster in getting that enchantment onto the battlefield. Right now, a very important point as well, because Derek has only 5 mana available here. Impulsing to get the right parts. He, of course, Reed has the creativity, has the 2 creatures to sacrifice, but has to be afraid of, for example, a ley line binding, which doesn't have flash, does it? It does have flash, so yeah, that is really really dangerous for him, which could kill his Xenagos, for example, and he can never have that happening. But he goes for the creativity anyways. Now having a blue mana up, which is very importantly the mana you need for the spell pierce. The 1 spell pierce, I think. Am I right about that? Yeah, the 1 spell pierce in the main deck. No, the 1 spell pierce in the whole deck. And you know, spell pierce might not be the best card, but the fact that that when you have a blue mana open, you have to think about it is already very strong. So getting his 2 creatures, the only 2 creatures, so basically what he would always have gotten here, onto the battlefield. And if they don't get answered by a ley line, Reed wins here. So that is what Derek is thinking about. Well, not really a thought. I think you have to do that. But he scoops immediately. I think I miscalculated something then. Let's think about that. He had the 5, but maybe he didn't, and I miscounted. Some of them look, for example, like a Chivalry, while it's not, and then it doesn't have the basic land type. So maybe that's what I was looking at wrong. But I feel like he had enough for a for at least one of the ley lines. Does he even have? Yeah, okay, yes. Beseju Glacial Fortress doesn't have types. Then there's Jetmir's Garden, which has all the types. Yeah, most of his lands have all the types, so I guess he didn't. So here we see, starting off with Mountain Forest Plains. Let's take a very good look at those this time. Also, no combo pieces that we see right away here in the hands of our players. Big Score could get Reed there, of course, as we have seen before. Chain to the Rocks, we haven't looked at that before. Says enchant a mountain to exile a creature. That is very strong, of course. See the Knight of Autumn just coming out. What is he doing with it? Getting for life? That would be a bit weird. Putting 2 counts on it? I mean, that would be a clock. Is he still thinking? Is Reed still thinking? Oh, he pointed out that he wanted to put counters on it, but Reed is going to fire Prophecy it. Putting a card on the bottom and then drawing a new card. Of course, this is a very important effect as well for when you have the 2 cards, one of the 2 cards in your hand, because you will need them in your library. And Reed does have only one of each of them. This is because you don't want to draw 2 of the same. 2 World Spine Worms are not as good as a World Spine Worm and a Xenagos. Reed drawing more answers, which is good for him. Make disappear. Derek, I think, going to ramp with 1, probably 2 Wolf Willow Havens, which is sad days. Only having the Chain to the Rocks, that is an answer, of course, but It is not what you want to see. You want to be proactive in this format because in just a few turns, Reduke might immediately win this game. You can almost feel the nervousness, but I think these players stand way above that, so they're probably playing mind games with each other in multiple ways that we can't even see. Stay hydrated, boys and girls, and everything, I don't mind. But drink your water. Fiery Impulse. Oh, yeah. So deal 2 damage to a creature. Might deal 3. All right. So might be a lightning strike. Bolt. Strike is the 2 mana one. Elish Norn has been drawn, but that is still a bit dangerous for Derek to play out because it could be countered, and then you are wide open, and you revealed that you probably have no counter spells in your hand. But yeah, can you really wait for this? You can, and I think that is discipline that we are seeing here. Reed is playing the big score to get 2 treasures, which are so very important for his combo, of course. And he gets to draw 2 extra cards before drawing his card for turn. What do we see? More lands. I mean, that's not bad, but it was needed, I guess. But he already had the lands. He needed. He wanted that creativity. Playing out this double-faced card, which isn't a playable spell, but it is an island or a mountain. Interesting to see that he chooses red, but I guess that is because he needs all the red he can for the creativity. Derek starting this off. 3 mana, what will you play? How's that 3? How's that? Oh, the Wolf Willows. Okay. 2 Wolf Willows, of course. So playing the Elish Norn, now having 2 mana open still, could represent an answer. And this, of course, also stops ETBs from his opponent, which isn't really important here, I would say. Right? I don't know if Reduke even has an ETB. Is this an ETB? Might be. That might be one thing. But I don't think he has many more of those effects. No, none, actually. Okay, so that doesn't really matter to him. It's more that it does help Derek a lot, of course. Doubling his removal spells, basically. Reed isn't drawing what he wants to draw, but has the chance to go again. Drawing some 1/1s wouldn't be the end here. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Does that do too much? Well, it gives him the 2/2. Gives him some extra treasure. It's interesting to see. Well, Elish Norn doesn't feel like a brick, but it is still a brick. It doesn't win the game that fast. It could in combination with other cards, of course. Do exactly that. A 2/2 won't win you the game yet either, but yeah, it is just in this deck to set him up for the creativity. Let's see what Derek has to offer for this turn. Yorion gets to ETB twice, but that isn't really it. think he will answer. What's this? It's the same one. 2-mana enchantment. This one. Draw a card, so that might help him find an answer here. Leyline Binding, that helps. Skyclave Apparition of the second ability from the Elish Norn, which of course makes this card very good. 2-mana, draw 2. And make this a 5-color land, which is not bad either. If there was any doubt that this did put the Leyline to 1 mana. Puts a Bind to the Rocks or Chain to the Rocks right on the battlefield. 1 mana to remove 2 creatures here. Only has 1. It is a token though, so it won't be put under the Chain to the Rocks. It will just be removed. It will never come back in that state. I like how they use these scratchbooks to count the life. Feels professional. I mean, if you are only winning, that might give you a boost of confidence as well. Passing just with the Leyline Binding up. Not wanting to play any of those other 2 cards because they could fire off literally. I guess figuratively, but that's the name of the deck. It's basically what I wanted to say, but picking up, discarding 2 lands probably, which is a very strong part of the 3-mana saga that we keep seeing over and over. He does this while keeping the mana up for the creativity, but doesn't get the creativity itself. Fire Prophecy can be used on Elish Norn more so to keep going through your deck. Can combine that with Fury Impulse, I think, to kill it. Is this the case? I think so, yeah. Oh, no, it's 7, so no, barely not. That would just be 6 damage, so that's not enough. But can still use the Fire Prophecy, and I think I would. But I think it's smart still to act like you're thinking about it. Doesn't do it yet. Maybe still scared of an answer. Which is legit. Derek hasn't had his mana tapped that far. Bitter Reunion, very strong here to use, as it will trigger twice as well. Any permanent will be doubled by the Mother of Machines. Enacting her plans here on her own, not really having any allies with her. Well, I guess the Reunion could be seen as Ursa and Mishra, but I don't think they would be Elish Norn's allies here. Still uses the fires to cycle 1 through his deck. Not really what you want to use it for, but gets another one, I think. Uses it. Maybe to eventually kill the Norn while the Bitter Reunion is here. Getting rid of another land, I suppose. And a Spikefield Hazard. It did come into play, that 1 damage. Here I was flaming it, and I was wrong. 1 damage can make a difference indeed. This time it killed the Mother of Machines. Exiled it even. Wow. Alright. I've been humbled. Which is normal. I usually get that when I watch these types of games. Doesn't want to put in the Fires of Invention. Has enough lands anyways. Derek Davis. Flips the Saga. Was it Saga? I forget the name every time. But comes back as a 2/2. I think. Oh yeah, we can flip it. Did that look beautiful? To create a token that's a copy of another target non-legendary creature you control, and it gains haste. So could make another worm. But you usually just play this for the first two parts of that saga. Just make this appear up though, but I don't think Derek knows this, so he needs to be careful still. Hans Drew's hair. That is a big sign. Doesn't know what to do, even though he is so far up in cards, he is still scared. And I think that is because he also didn't draw his enigmatic incarnation. But it is so important to keep your head in the game. Even if if the shuffler seems broken, you need to stay practical. Steam fence. You can see you could see his mouth move in a way that said, "I'm not happy with this." But continues to work on and removes that Fable saga. Under the Rock, which is possible, it was a creature. Doesn't have to be a creature after that. The Duke asking Derek to put the card under there so that all the players know. Asking how many lands do you have up, which is, of course, should be should be seen, but it's a bit complicated with all those enchantments where some of them don't really add any more mana, so it's not really that you can just know this. Keeps getting in with the spirits. They are ticking up. Just 6 more turns, and that will be lethal. So that is a clock. With just to make this appears though, Derek has all the chances to do something here, and maybe a shoot. I mean, if he would have played the Yorion just so much earlier, yeah, here we go. You can still use it. Maybe it's not a lot of value, but it's still 4 power in the air, which represents a 4-turn clock instead of a 6-turn clock. And Rijuk might have to sack his 2 spirits to make Derek pay 8 mana with his 2 make disappears. No, Derek says, I don't care, I'm not going to tap that extra mana, I'm going to keep it up to protect myself from your combo. Let's see it. Senna goes in his hand while he can cast that still. So he can cast it with the treasures, to be exact. Because of course he doesn't really have the green lands. That is another plus side from the Hull Breaker. That he can still cast it. Without the treasure. Let's see. Would you play it out though? That is a bit dangerous. Does so? Well, I guess it could double your spirit's power as well. Uses, we haven't seen this yet, but this is of course another very important tech here as well. Mutavault becomes a 2/2, then becomes a 4/4. Derek answers with a Leyline Binding. That is very interesting. Oh, wants to use it on the Senegos, I think. But it gets make disappeared by sacking one of the spirits. Then gets in for 4 because the Mutavault was doubled. Derek now, it didn't look like Reduke had that much in his hand, but with the sacking of the spirits that make disappear doubled, made such an extra impact. Okay, we see the Moonlight, what was it? Moonblast cleric entering, can then search for an enchantment, probably going to look for the enigmatic incarnation. Could use something else. Right now, he doesn't really have an answer in his hand anymore, so that could be something he would do. But no, he's going to look for enigmatic incarnation, so it looks like. On the left, they said he put it to his hand, but I think he should put it on the top of his library, but apparently he has it in his hand. I didn't see that, but yeah, okay. When did he put it in his hand then? There's no state where you put it in your hand, right? I don't think so. Maybe a little bit of a mistake. Can happen, of course. This is high level editing, I guess, from the team. Is going to play it with the 2 Wolf Willow Haven lands. Reduke thinking about it, but can't really make disappear this. Make this disappear. Yeah, I guess make disappear this. Because he's using the card, but okay, sacrificing the fires, which is another deck, of course. So now he has a choice between Kenrith and not Elish Norn anymore, Cavalier of Dawn. Chose the Cavalier to destroy a non-land permanent, but what would you destroy then? Could choose a treasure, maybe. Could make it 3/3 on his own side. Could destroy itself. Huh? To make a golem, I guess. Oh, and when it dies, return target artifact or enchant. Oh, that's so interesting, actually. So now you can return an enchantment to your hand. Was a bit slow to understand. Reduke really needs his thing. Creativity. Playing the ley line on the Xenagos. Gets exiled. That is a sort of nail on the cover, and Derek must be happy with himself. Continues on, but you can see how slow this card really is. It's not like his state is bad. It's just that with no enchantments in his hand, he can just get a 3-mana creature onto the battlefield, and at this point of the game, doesn't really feel like that will win him the game, and I'm not even sure if he has one. Maybe he Hanged Executioner. Could be used to exile another creature, so that is a plus against Reed's deck, of course. Maybe he should go for that. But I won't pretend to be on the level of these guys. He also has a Chain to the Rock, where there's nothing under it because he used it on a token, so could get this 2 mana creatures. No, goes for another Moonblast Cleric to find whatever he wants and puts it on top. So interesting that this is going so slow for Derek Davis, still under, and even though he has his namesake card onto the battlefield and had the fires as well. Of course, the strength of fires together with the enigmatic incarnation is that you can play the fires for 4 mana while having 4 cards, and then play enigmatic incarnation right away to have at your end step these 2 enchantments, and then right away you can get a 5 mana creature onto the battlefield. Big score from Reed Duke, getting 2 more cards, and should be getting to his next creativity very soon. At this, but no, gets another Saga. Gets a 2/2, which could block the Golem for just a bit. Does slow Derek down more. Let's see, another Leyline Binding. That is interesting because that could get the Ancient of Treachery or Titan of Industry. Of course. Not sure what he's thinking about here. But maybe you should keep the Leyline for an answer just in case. Getting in for 3. Rejuke lets that go through because life is a resource. Looking at the Enigmatic. Asking a question about it. Oh, because it was weird with the Leyline, I think. But did he just give the Xenagos back? That's also very interesting. Maybe this is a bit of a mistake because you probably don't want Reed to have the Xenagos. Maybe, I guess, asking about the order or something. Why? Oh, he stole the Xenagos. Oh, that's what's the question. Whether when you use the sacrifice effect, it goes on the stack. And then only later do you get the... I just noticed. Here you go. Only later do you get the treachery onto the battlefield. So stole the Xenagos. Of course, here is the agent gaining control, and if you steal 3 permanents, you can draw 3 cards at the end of your turn. But he just has 1 right now. Xenagos though, doubling his Golem, for example. Next turn. That is the weakness of having this happen at the end of your turn. Reed playing Secrets of the Key, which makes him a clue token. I don't think I've showed this card yet. Investigate. And you can flashback to make 2 clue tokens later. Of course, this is a 3 mana spell that draws you 1 card, and then later it is a 3 plus 4 is 7 plus 4 is 11 mana, draw 3. But of course, you can do this in installments, which makes it better. Plus, Reed can always use the artifact tokens in a way that we will very soon see, and he is playing faster and faster because he wants to play. No, he's not going to yet. Maybe because he's a bit scared of not having the Xenagos and playing the Worm out. But there is not a lot of pressure from Derek's side yet. Which is an interesting proposition. Asking to play Kenrith the Returned King, which could give all creatures trample and haste, which is, I think, very important here. Reading his own card, Rejuke is. Yeah, okay. Attacking with these 2. Oh, he was asking about whether it was activated or not. But yeah, with all the enchantments that Derek has, the Xenagos is activated. Let's look at it. You need 7 devotion. Does he have 7 devotion? Yeah. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then? Oh, and the enigmatic, so that's 7. Yeah, that is 7 devotion. Rijuk thinking about his blocks. Doesn't die here, I think. Oh, he does? Yeah, he does. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. So Xena goes doubling the... Yeah, that is a pretty funny sequence here, but the stolen Xenagos doubling the Kenrith, I think, making 10. And yeah, that is the final nail in that coffin. Next game though, we gotta stay hydrated as well. So I'm going to do that for a bit. May this be a motivation. So what do we see here? We see the namesake card from Derek's side. In his hand, at least. No permanence on the battlefield yet. Playing, what is this? Archon? No. It's another bird. I have seen this before, but oh, are we in the... Oh, we are on the sideboard part. From the second game onwards it is, right. Each player can cast more than one spell each turn. But indeed can be fire prophesied. It has 3 toughness. Rijuk doesn't want to be locked down. Definitely not having his lands control that he controls enter the battlefield tapped. Was this a one-off? Yes, this was a one-off. A one-off that is now disposed of as well. Derek playing his 4th land as well. No one missing their land drops yet, but Rijuk is moving towards that. But of course can big score in just a moment. First, Nylia's presence on the battlefield here. And he does have a lot of them. So that, of course, giving him all the land types that he needs, all the colors that he needs as well in his deck. Right now he has, for example, 3 colors in his hand. But maybe more importantly, drawing him an extra card. Redoing the big score, discarding a Shark Typhoon. Gaining 2 treasures, which are very important for his creativity. It's interesting, does fit with the idea of creativity in on Strixhaven with the Prismari, which are also Izzet. Could have got this Prismari, but of course the creativity namesake card is from Kaladesh, I believe. Yeah, it is. So more fables for Derek, which he can't really do a lot with. He can play them, but that's basically not what he wants to do. Probably thinking about playing the Enigmatic, because yeah, that is what you want to do, but then it will be spell pierced, as we can see, but Derek doesn't. But wisely passes his turn, so even when you have 4 mana open, sometimes you don't want to immediately play something. Rijuk with a smile, taking that turn. Safely with 2 lands in his hands, playing his big score. Not expecting an answer. Derek boosting his brain waves with his hands on his head. Not sure if it really means something. Could just mean that he is thinking. Can't always tell something from demeanor, but this looks like something. Taking the turn, Reed takes his next card as well. Having a spell pierce must feel very safe. Mystical Dispute, I'll point out, very good against blue cards. Basically becoming a better spell pierce at that point. Targeting any blue spell for just 1 mana, and the controller has to pay 3. Cycling the shark on the next turn, starting the clock from now, will be 5 turns before that 4/4 with flying will kill Derek. Of course, Derek does have his companion, which is a downside and an upside. But let's look at what he says. Where is he? Where is he actually? Oh, here. So, of course, to have Yorion as a companion, you will removing the shark, removing the clock. Yorion needs your deck to have 20 more than the minimum deck size. More lands being played, which is very important in a combo or control matchup, which is both basically. Mystical disputes from both sides, which makes it very interesting because you want to keep that mana up, but it makes the counter battle way more difficult to think about, because the more mana you have, the less these counter spells do. Creativity in Duke's hand, but there is 5 mana open from Derek, so that is a little bit dangerous to do. But he must also know that, well, there aren't really that many counter spells, but there are some exile cards with flash, which is basically what Reed is scared of, because Derek does have those 5 types. Playing a Fable. So Fable, very important because it can be a small threat that can keep creating treasures, which is dangerous, because everything will be decided in one turn, where the battle will be decided around how much mana you have on the battlefield. So treasures are extra strong in this matchup. The previous one as well. It's basically the same. Sorry. We're trying to control each other. Dig through time. I think we haven't seen this yet either. It is a one-off. So what this does, you may exile cards from your graveyard to make this spell 1 cheaper every time you choose to do an extra exile. And then look at the top 7. So basically getting you whatever you want, and then put 2 of those into your hand. So could be expensive, but right now really cheap, because he had so many cards to exile. Choosing more land, and I think that says a lot. Many people don't recognize lands for their importance, but they are really important. If he would have chosen to just lands are necessary here, you need to keep getting those drops, because the moment you are far enough ahead of your opponent, you will be able to play that creativity here. Derek can play at most 6 counter spells right here, and they will all be able to be paid for almost, I would say. So I think Duke is going for that, and that also he doesn't even have that many in his deck. Yes, 3 disputes. I think he can account for them all, and then the only dangerous thing here is the Leyline binding, but he of course does have 2 negates and a disdainful stroke, so yeah, that is not really going to be too scary. Derek saying, let me look through your deck, because as we have seen before, this lets Derek know what is pulled out from the sideboard. And you can see with how fast he goes through it, how well they know each other's decks, how well they've prepared. All these things that I can think about right now, they have thought about more than 100 times, and then they've memorized it all, which is the impressive part. They need to be so fast with it. But still think about everything. And yes, that was the game. Insane how much these guys have to think about. Did we just spoil a lot? Yeah. I'm sorry for the small spoiler, but let's pick it up from where I spoiled it. A lot has happened here already. We've seen some counters going to and from each other, but right now we have one treasure, a mirror breaker, and a shaman token on Reed's side. A clue as well, it seems, from the secrets. And then the enigma. Enigmatic incarnation is already on the battlefield as well from Derek's side. So what will he do with this? Well, he could get a 3-drop with it. Rejuke though, at 5 mana, might step it to the meadow and might play the creativity right now. It would be really fast, so might mean that there is a smaller chance that Derek has an answer, but that is still really dangerous. You are really glass cannon with your deck, but maybe you say, I still do it. No, he doesn't. He impulses. That must feel like a good sign to Derek, but he also knows that Rejuke might be very careful and meticulous about this. I would feel like I would almost always like just do that, but you learn so much from these players, mostly with about what they don't do. Why is he holding him upside down so that we can see it? That would be really cool. We saw some counters there, but he chose the spell pierce. Oof, Rejuke. Putting his hands into his hair now. They're definitely fighting a hair game here. By the way, this deck is 700, the one from Derek. Not that it really matters, but and I think I said before that it is under 2% of the players use this. Get portable hold. And I think Rejuke doesn't have many choices right now, but maybe he still waits. I think no, he doesn't. He goes for it. See, this is his only plan, and if it works, he wins, but if it doesn't work, he loses. Derek is thinking about it. I mean, this must be calming for Rejuke, so maybe you should stop it if you don't have the answer. Maybe Derek is thinking he might have pulled a trick and might have pulled from his sideboard the Hull Breaker, and there might be a chance, but I don't think so. No, just a hand, and there goes Rejuke. This one is won by him as well. As we might have spoiled, but we're here about the games themselves. So interesting matchup as well. And the last one for the finale is a different kind of matchup. This is not a combo matchup necessarily. Kind of it kind of is, but a different kind. Celestia Auras. It is the I think the least played that we see here in the top 8. Yes, it is 0.9%, so this one got very far. And it is just because it is so aggressive. It uses all that glitters, and I think there are some things that give trample. Yes, audacity, for example, another enchantment that gives audacity, or that gives trample. It is audacity, which is important because you will be able to make your creatures very big with all the glitters, and then you might want some flying or trample or some other types of evasion to get in. Then there's Shram, which draws you cards from all the enchantments. Skrelv to protect your creatures. Light Boss to get more enchantments. Then the Glade covers Scout just as a hexproof, which is important because then it is protected. You can very easily play it on turn 1 because of it. And then Generous Visitor, which grows the creatures further, which is good against enchantment removal because then the counters stay on your deck. And we're shuffling every day. Oh, another interesting point, I guess, is the fact that there is already a where is it? A companion. Should be. Can't find it, but it is there. Giganta is there for Celestia Auras. Not sure why it's not in here. Maybe it's a bit outdated. That would be interesting, actually. Might not be able to pull up all the cards here. But we're still shuffling anyways. It does seem like the same deck. Oh, whoa, that's going really fast. Okay. Alright, we see the first Glade Cover Scout coming out. So this is a different pace. In the previous decks, there were no turn 1s. And here we really need to start at the beginning. Also, Benton mulligan down a lot, which is very scary, of course. He's grimacing. That's not good. He will be able to play 2 enchantments if he wants, but that doesn't really win him the game yet, does it? It's a cartouche. So giving +1/+1, a 1/1. And first strike. Here, the 1/1 has vigilance. Then playing ethereal armor onto that. I think indeed. Interestingly, he does have multiple versions, and I will get the right one. Oh, there are many versions of this, so he probably playtested multiple, I suppose. I'm not sure how or where I can now find this. What is he doing? Is he counting? It's weird that they didn't put this finale deck on the website then. No, they really didn't. Huh. But this is at least a bit more accurate, I guess. It does have the Giganta here. So that's one thing. So it means that no more... What's he counting? Reduke also doesn't have any answers here, though. So all that glitters will be able to get onto the hexproof creature, giving him 3 extra power on top of the other power that was already there. Spikefield Hazard dealing with the 1/1 though. Alright, Reduke at 8. Does need an answer right now. Not sure what that could be. I think he needs a sideboarding. Mirror Breaker. Well, Benton doesn't have trample yet, so that does stop him from dying for a turn. Another Sentinel's Eyes doesn't really have that much of a punch. It does give him vigilance, so I guess it's protection, but should play it anyways. Yep. That's exactly what happens, and he passes the turn. Rejuke. What could he get? I'm not sure. But he can cycle through his deck a bit more right now, so he's choosing what he wants to discard. Look at that big stack of enchantments though. But Rejuke only cares about one of the enchantments. I guess life total has become important all of a sudden. That wasn't the case before. So let me give you that. Like such. Better. Here you go. Missing a lot. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. More coming down. That is definitely a big problem because next turn Reed will have another blocker. Stram will not really help him too much with only his 2 lands. He will not be able to draw right away. But next turn he will have 2 attacking creatures, I guess, but that will only get him in for 3 damage, and that is not really sealing the deal here. So Benton doing using 1 hand in his hair already. But Rejuke has the same, so maybe he is worried as well. I think Reed is more thinking about whether he should kill this ram. He can do that in response next turn as well, though. Seems like he's going to do that right now that Benton is stepped out. I think that is wise. And he ticks up, so now he can filter more through his deck, and he flips one of the enchantments, which is another chump blocker. And Benton can see that the next turn will be another chump blocker, and there might be more coming anyways, because, well, now Reed gets to filter if he wants to. He may discard up to 2 cards, and that is a really bad sign for Benton, and I think this game is really slipping away. From him. Rejuke not really filtering too much, playing another. Oh no, this is definitely the end. Well, it is not really definitely the end, but it is heavy. What can Benton do? Well, he needs trample basically, but he gets another vigilance, and 2 vigilance on a creature doesn't really even do anything. He would rather have one of his creatures. He does have a lot of creatures anyways in the deck as well. He has 2 generous visitors, if this is correct. 4 scouts, 4 light boss, 4 Skrelfs, and 3 Shrams. But he only gets to take 1 creature at a time here, and this has been historically the weak point of this deck. The fact that it can't get through. He has, I think, in this game, 6 cards that can win it for him, but he really needs them. Another option that might be rather epic is that he could get lifelink, which might save him for a few turns against the worm. even though it's 30 damage, Benton can get above 30 life. So that would be a cool game. But still on 2 lands, that's a bit heavy still. And the Sentinel's eyes don't really do anything for him. Every attack will be lethal, basically, with this scout. And yeah, adding more vigilance to it, or just +2/+2 doesn't really do anything. Benton not getting what he wanted, maybe it's a land or something like that. Going to attack. Tapping to make a copy of the other mirror and then putting it in front, not even getting rid of one of the mirror breakers here. Rejuke has a fiery impulse to get rid of the Skrelv. Of course, Skrelv would have been an answer as well, I guess, but isn't really an answer right now because of the fiery impulse. Could be tapped next turn if he had it, to make the scout unblockable to red creatures. Instead, Rejuke makes 2 clue tokens by flashing the secrets back. So that means that he gets to make 2 clues. Takes his time, which I think is smart as well, but here he has the indomitable creativity to, I think, end the game. I think I would, because Benton doesn't have any counters here. Doesn't have removal as well, either, I think. Because he needs to be so focused. No. No removal at instant speed, and none yet, I think. So this is the game. Maybe really just looking for the lifelink. Really just thinking about what could go wrong. Which I think it's good to take your time in these important moments. I think this is it. Yeah, he does. Lets it go. And Rejuke gets the look, and Benton lets it happen, even though he knows it's a certainty that he will get those 2 cards. The Xena goes into Worm. Sounds like a children's book, but here's the Worm. We all know what happens here, I think. The Worm looks so weird, by the way. Can we look at this for a moment? What is that? It's just 3 holes. 2 holes. 3 holes. I don't know. I don't even know. There it goes. Gets doubled. Becomes 30. I guess could be blocked. Is that enough? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. No. Is that enough? I guess you can keep Skrelv and then it's counting, but no. That doesn't really matter. There isn't any out here. Going back to 20. First game for Reed. Move to the hands. We see a mulligan already. It's a bad sign for this game. And then looking, but not happy looking, it seems. This is, of course, a very scary moment, so even though you know your deck so well, this is the finale. So how to keep calm? Putting 2. I'm still thinking about it. I think that is legit. Well, not the lands, it seems to say. I need my 2 lands. Maybe a Stram? No, not sure still. No, putting it away. Putting 3 cards away again. That is not a good sign, but he has to take it. Doesn't even have an enchantment here. Oh, he's smiling about it, but that must be a little bit tilting. Going first play, Skrelv, which is a good sign to read. Paying 2 mana for the Shram, yes. What did he draw though? Another land. And the Skrelv gets removed. And there is another, I think, Fairy Impulse in Reed's hand. Passing though. Just smart, you can wait until... Oh. This is painful. Light Pulse, yeah, doesn't do anything either. Without the enchantments. At least he has more lands, I guess. So he can be a little bit more patient than last game. Shivan Reef not really changing anything, but Reed doesn't need anything to be changed. As a counterspell for the Light Boss, as Benton takes his time to play it out, but no, it gets countered. Anyways. So you have another Light Boss? Seemed that way. No, this is a hand in hair moment indeed. If you draw a Temple Garden here, I guess that's a scry, but that doesn't really do anything for you. Being afraid of it being countered. Oh, this is not a scry. Temple Garden is apparently a temple, but doesn't scry. It is a pain land, okay. Playing the Light Boss, this one seems to stay. Yes, he big scores it. Let's look at that land. His Temple Garden is a pay to life card. Alright. But Reduke has the Xenagos in his hand. Oh, so he gets the worm now, and then next turn he can do it. He can win the game next turn, and I think this is telling Benton enough. Because Reduke wouldn't wait. What he could hope for was that this would be a Xenagos, and that would mean that Reduke would have the World Spine Worm in his hand, but this is definitely meaning the Xenagos is in Reed's hand, so doesn't even need a land, maybe, but he has it, and yeah, now there's really no way for Benton to stop this. He still plays it out, but because I guess this could be a bluff. But his last creature gets removed, and now he has nothing, but he says, do it, we're in the finals, just show me what you have. And here comes the Xenagos, yeah, he knows what it is, yes, and that's 30 damage. So that's enough. Alright, next game. In the finals. Oh, we're looking at the new card from the previous. No, we're not. We're just looking at what. And let's click through this. After this, yeah, we see the card there. Of course, the winner gets their own card. But here we see it. Flash flying. Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw a card. I think that is very cute that he gets this card. It would be so fun to have your own card. Tell me, by the way, what card would you get for yourself if you would win such a tournament? We see a scout. We see a ethereal armor again. Again, that is not really stopping the chump blocking. Where is it even? Oh, is it not in here again? Oh yeah, it is. So first strike and +1/+1. So it's like all that glitters. So 2 of them, that is a lot of damage. So that means 2 times 2, which is 4, +1 is 5. Quick maths. But Rejuke. Yeah, no, that is out of reach of the Fire Prophecy, which is what Benton needs next to, of course, it having hexproof, so that didn't really matter anyways. But here come the blockers. So Skrelv will be coming out, and that can be fire prophesied. So might have been better here to keep. No, that wouldn't work. No, wouldn't work. But might have. Nah, I think. Not going to say what they should play, but there could be something said for waiting with the ethereal armor to put it on another creature that you might have to help stay alive against that fire prophecy. And now the Skrelv isn't safe, and you can't fight the jump blockers next turn. There might be a turn without the jump blocker though, and that could seal the deal here. But again, Benton not having the best luck with his opening draws. Might be a little bit too scared about keeping a subpar hand like we saw in previous game. Discarding the worm, which will get back into the deck, I think. Doesn't it? Yes, it does. When it is put into a graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into its owner's library. So it doesn't matter if it's from your hand, it still goes back. Also seems like he boarded in some more Shark Typhoons, which I think is interesting, because it doesn't seem like something to go against the fast decks, but I guess you can make the small sharks. We've really not seen the Shark Typhoon played. It's more for the cycle part, it seems. Gets spiked again. A creature that gets spiked while I have talked against it, which was not fair, it seems. Goes in, gets rid of the new jump blocker, but for the next 2 turns there will be new jumps, and Benton is... Well, Reed can even take it. Light pass, but that still can be prophesied. So a bit sad, but it seems like this is already kind of it. But of course, oh yeah, well, if we're being honest, right now he gets the jump blocker. Benton really needs trample, and otherwise this is pretty over. But though he goes for the combo, the worm is back in the deck. He sacrifices the 2 creatures, and there Benton goes. Benton lets it play out, just for fun, just to have Rejuke have his moment, which I think is very good sportsmanship after these hands, and I love this. He lets it play. This is a great player. Benton Mans, he doesn't, but still took it for very long, and I think that is respectable. Love this deck, and you can play it as well, of course. I'll put the link to the deck down in the description. And other than that, I want to thank you for watching, and let me know what type of card you would have made about yourself when you win. When not if, you win this tournament. Bye.